Hey everybody, so great to see you. Welcome to our Q&A tonight. Really looking forward to spending some time with you as we talk about hearing from God. Sorry for the delay. We were having a few struggles on Facebook, and maybe you're on Facebook and you've now jumped over to YouTube. So glad that you're here with us. We see a bunch of you jumping in the chat. I see Caleb, Arno, Gabriel, Julian, Laura, Josh Church, good to see you. Renee, whole bunch of you jumping in. We're so glad that you're here with us tonight. And I'm looking forward to the time together. By the way, if you never met me before, my name is Jeff Brodie. I'm the lead pastor at Connexus Church. And here's why I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm kicking off a brand new series this Sunday called Hearing from God. And I think it's key at this time to really spend some time digging down on this conversation because in this unique time that we're in, this unprecedented time, I think, man, wouldn't it be great if we could A, connect with God in the midst of it, and then B, on the other side of COVID-19, because I promise you there will be another side. What if we came out of this being able to hear from God like never before? What does it mean to position yourself to hear from God? What does God's voice sound like? These are the kinds of conversations we're going to be having over the next 4 weeks. And just really excited to have you on the journey. So, this is kind of pre Sunday. We're having a conversation. And what we're going to do is, I've invited three of my friends who are on the staff team at Connexus to join us. And they're going to share and answer the question, hey, how do you best connect with God? What has that experience been like? We're going to talk to each of them, and then we're going to open up for Q&A, a short Q&A. So over the course of the conversation, if you've got questions, drop them in the chat, and then I'll have a look. We'll pick some of those questions and get the panel to answer them. And so I'm going to start with my friend Jen Conrad, and Jen works on the staff team with me, and she's my assistant, works with me every day. And I know that every person connects with God in a unique way. So we're going to talk to her. Then we're going to talk to Joseph Swan, our really campus pastor, also is helping us really with content these days. And then Sydney Lester, who works with our students and is helping us out with social media in this season. You're going to love connecting with these people. And so we're going to start with Jen and Jen Conrad. And so, Jen, so happy to see you. So great to have the opportunity to connect with you. Jen, I would love for you to take a minute and share with us, how do you best connect with God? What are the things you've learned along the way?
Yeah, glad to be here tonight, Jeff. One of the things when you shared this question with me earlier was this is something that has changed for me over the course of the years and probably will forever continue to change over the course of the years. And I think that's one of the things that's so cool about our God is that he is so big and yet so intimate at the same time that he can connect with us
Right.
all in different ways and in different seasons, in different places. And so that's one of the things that um, I just keep coming back to over and over again as you ask this question. Um, for me personally, there's been a lot of change in the last, I guess, almost 6 months now.
Yeah, for everybody, I
Um,
guess. Well, you got married and everything on top of all that, so you've had tons of
yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah. So there's been, yeah, the last month has been the same change as everybody else. And then, yeah, in the last 6 months, I got married. And so figuring out new ways to connect with God has been one of the things that I've been in the process of doing. Um, Throughout my entire life, regardless of stage or life stage, one of the ways that I most connect with him is in nature. Um, and for me, what that looks like is it can be anything from an hour on the back porch, just soaking in the sun, to going on a hike, to hopping in the kayaks with my husband and going for a paddle on a lake that nobody else knows about. And those places, for me, are I would say one of the places where I can connect with him the clearest. And I think that comes because the distractions of the world around me just are so easy to kind of tune out. Whereas if I'm home, if any of you followed the Enneagram series, I'm a type 1. So if I'm home and trying to have that quiet time, there's a constant list running through my head of all the things that I can be doing. And so those things become really distracting of me trying to connect with God and trying to have that time if I'm not super intentional. Whereas when I can step out into nature, that list goes not, it doesn't necessarily go away, but it's not as loud, because I'm forced to put a phone in my pocket, close the computer. There's no laundry to be folded or dishes to be done or anything like that. I can just focus on creation, on what he's created around me, on how big he is, in the way that, like, the sky seems ginormous, and yet the little ants that you can squish between your fingers are so small. And so that would be, for me, one of the ways that I can most, I would say, directly connect with him. Now, that said, there's been great seasons for me where like daily devotionals, so like reading my Bible or following a Bible plan, have been helpful. And I think those things make those times in nature even more rich for me, and even more clarifying or fulfilling for me. But for sure, that time in nature for me is one of the ways that I can kind of step outside of my day to day and step outside of my constant running list of things and really connect with him in just an uninterrupted way.
Yeah, it's interesting how so much of connecting with God, as you're saying, is eliminating finding a place where you're eliminating all that distraction. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of sacred pathways. I think you have, but it kind of looks at different places, kind of physically, where people connect with God, different ways they connect with God, and how they match different personalities. Jen, the Enneagram series you're referring to, if people want to check that out, do you remember what that series is called?
Yeah, we called it The Road Back to You, is the book. And that is, we gave that away back in January. And then Carrie actually did a series on it. So you can head to connexuschurch.com/on-demand, and all the series will be there. So that one is really helpful, just to understanding more of who you are and how you're wired affects how you connect with God.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks, Jen. We're gonna come back to Jen, but we're going to connect with Joseph. And Joseph is a friend of mine, all the way from Australia. And so he comes with a cool accent, has a brand new dog at home. Joseph, I know that you've been new to our team over the last number of weeks and been such a great addition to our team. We love having you in leadership here. Would love to hear a little bit about how you connect with God. How have you connected with him over the years? What's that been like?
Yeah, well, it's certainly a strange time to be arriving in a foreign country, but yeah, I think like what Jen was saying, that my experiences connecting with God over the years have changed. But I think in making the decision to come to Canada, I think we pulled out everything.
Right. Yeah, that's a big move. That's a big move.
We were looking for burning bushes. We were looking for everything. And in Australia in January, we had plenty of burning bushes.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I think for me, obviously, I always come back to Scripture, and to me, Scripture speaks to me a lot. And interpreting Scripture and just allowing God to speak to me through Scripture, I find that is where I always seem to come back to. And just allowing God to speak to me that way and directing me and leading me. I know I'm Maltese by nature, by heritage, so we tend to be a very emotional lot. And I find Scripture is a great anchor for me, because it keeps me grounded. And it keeps me it gives me a solid foundation. Otherwise, if I'm just left to my emotions and just left to that, I could be making all sorts of crazy decisions and going all over the place.
Now, for when it comes to reading Scripture, Joseph, do you have a routine? Like at certain times of your life, you had a routine where you read it at certain times, or has it been just at any different time over the course of your life? What's that been like?
Yeah, I've been doing a Bible reading plan actually this last year. I've read the Bible through a few times, but I've never really done anything fairly disciplined. So this last year, I set myself to do one of the YouVersion 365 plans. I must confess, I'm like 80 days behind, but we did do an international move.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. You lost a day. You at least lost one day, maybe.
I lost one day, yeah. And I determined not just to speed read to catch up, just to be caught up for the sake of it, because I don't want to miss the opportunity of going through every verse in the Bible and reading through everything that's there. So I did at the moment, that's what I do. I have had times in the past where I would just grab a book from the Bible and my usual reading plan at that stage. And I would do a lot of journaling as well.
Okay.
So
So what's
I
that
would,
like for people who don't know what that is?
so basically I would sit with my Bible, I would read a passage of scripture, and then I would take that passage of scripture. And for me, I would just only read one chapter a day. And then the one verse that stood out from that chapter that I just read, for whatever reason it stood out, I would just write it in my journal and just spend some time thinking about that and praying about that and just seeing what God would like to say to me through that verse, whether it's something that I can apply to my life in a situation that I'm going through currently, or whether it's just a word of wisdom or a word of encouragement or whatever it was, or something that I can actually outwork into other people's lives. And so I would just do that and just work through a book of the Bible, however long that took.
Okay, that's great. Okay, we'll come back to you, Joseph. Going to introduce Sydney. Sydney works, as I said, with our students. She's helping us out with social media right now. You saw her on a fantastic Starting Point Insta story today. If you were on there earlier today, still room and Starting Point, I think, but it's filling up quick. Sydney, tell us, how have you best connected with God? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, so similar to Jen, I would say nature has been a big one. I've had the privilege of traveling a lot in my life. And so places like the Grand Canyon, where you feel so insignificant, yet you realize that God has created such beauty in the Grand Canyon and beauty in all of us, has been really impactful. But I think most recently, I've really connected with God in worship music. I'm definitely a words of affirmation person. And so when I listen to worship, I kind of listen to them as God's like love story to me. And they express the words that I just don't have because I'm not gifted in writing music. And so it just gives me language to be able to worship and also understand like God's love for me through those songs. And so that has been a really big one for me lately. Like I'll just be washing dishes and throw worship music on, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, especially, you know, in this time with the pandemic, I'll just throw on like No Longer Slaves or something like that and listen to the words and really speak them over my life. And that has been really impactful in just connecting me back to the truth that, you know, God is with me, God is for me. And similar to Joseph in the same sense of journaling, that has been really helpful. I'm not as good as it now or good at it now, but that has been really cool to just journal what's been going on in my life and prayer requests that I've had, and then going back, you know, 6 months in a journal and seeing how God has answered those prayers. It really shows you that he shows up in the little things, even when you maybe don't notice it. Like I'll look back at journals that I had from high school and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was praying about that, but like God answered some of those prayers. Right. So it's a really good way to remind me that he actually does answer prayers when I journal them down.
So 2 journalers, I've always struggled with journaling. It's never been like a thing for me. So now you guys are challenging me that I should journal. So we're gonna bring everybody back here in a moment if I can figure out the technology. Let's see. We're gonna bring everybody back. Which camera do you want me to use, Justin?
Use your Zoom camera.
All right. Hey everybody. And a couple of things to kind of that I'm going to share with you in a minute around different tools that I've used to connect with God. But want to remind you before I do, hey, put your questions in the chat, and I'm going to jump to those in a second. But one of those things has been, this book has been a really good one for me, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, Day by Day Journal. There's a relationship one that I'm doing now that's, I would argue, is not as good as this one. And it's actually supposed to be orange, but it sits in the sun by the chair that I read in, so it looks kind of light. But it's got moment of silence, it's got silent time, scripture time, reflection time, prayer time, moment of silence. So it takes me about, on a good day, I'll do it in 30 minutes. And on a rush day, I can do it in shorter. But this book's really spoken to me about spiritual health. Pete Scazzaro, a guy who's like a guy you don't like listening to because he speaks so much truth that it like impacts you every day. So be ready for that if you get this book. We bought it for all of our small group leaders, I think, this past year. I think Christine did. So But yeah, questions that people have. I'm going to go into the questions here and see what we've got. All right. Jumping in.
Jeff, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
there's actually another book that I've been reading since we started having this conversation about hearing God's voice and how we're going to talk about that with in like a larger conversation. One of the books I've been reading recently that's been pretty helpful is called Whisper. And I think he did another book called Draw the Circle, Mark Batterson did. And so that has been one that's been really helpful to me in the last little while, just in understanding the different ways. Like I've always had God speak to me in different ways in different seasons, but knowing that it's not just me who experiences that it's everybody who experiences that in different ways has been really affirming of me knowing that was God in those moments and that was God at those different times. So that's been a book that's been really helpful, and I know Draw the Circle has also been really helpful to a bunch of my friends too.
Yeah, that is a great book, and I think it speaks about different languages. Really helpful. So I'm glad you shared that. There are a bunch of people talking about YouVersion in here. If you don't know what YouVersion is really the Bible app. It's put up by YouVersion, and it's got a ton of reading plans, including the one that Joseph was talking about. There's one by Nikki Gumbel, which a lot of people really like. If you see that one. And one of the things you can do is change translations. So that's a really helpful thing. Is sometimes you go, man, just a different translation kind of freshen it up. So I see some people in the chat asking about YouVersion. So I wanted to fill you in on that. And Christine has mentioned Circle Maker in here as well, the other Mark Batterson book. Other people are talking about, hey, other ways that they connect with. My friend Ron is there. Hey, Ron. Other ways they connect with God, and a lot of people connecting in nature. I wanted to share as well. Some people kind of ask, where do I start? That's kind of a pretty natural question. And there's something that we've done here at Connexus called Lectio Divina, which means divine reading, where you read scripture, you pray, you have silence. And we're going to put it in the chat, actually, a link to a blog post that we did on Lectio Divina, one that you can try. I think there's actually a few there that you could try, and it walks you through how to do that. So divine reading. And so for some people, that's a great way for them to connect. So you'll definitely see that there. So I wanted to make sure that we highlighted that, and I think we're going to drop.
I think one of the things, just to add to that, Jeff, is don't be afraid to just start. So if you've never tried this before and talking to God feels like a really big thing, don't be afraid to just open that YouVersion app if you don't have a Bible at home. And a translation that might be super helpful if you've never read the Bible before is the NLT, or NIV is pretty easy too. It's just put in language that's super understandable for us today. And so I would just say, just start. For me, sometimes being a one, perfectionism is a real thing. And so if my setting doesn't feel beautiful, or I don't have the right notebook, or I don't have like my pretty journaling Bible, I can feel like it's not worth starting because it's not gonna look good, or it's not gonna be perfect. But God's not actually interested in perfect. He's interested in you. And so just start, just try it, and just go for it.
Yeah, I think like, and as Joseph said, if you get behind, like if you're doing a reading plan and you get behind, don't give up. Like some people go, well, now I'm never going to catch up, so I'm just not going to do it. But you pick it up the next day, and you start again, and there's different theories on what 30 days or 60 days or whatever to kind of get a habit. Now, I would love to hear Joseph, when we think about a big decision. So you made a big decision to move here. How do you hear from God when you got a decision to make? What are kind of the steps you would take?
Well, for a decision like that, like I said before, I pulled out all the stops. I was going to everything, through everything with all of that. I think a lot of the decision-making process for us, the thing that Kath and I both came back to all the time, even though there were some pretty big decisions that we had to make throughout all of that, was simply peace. That was what helped us in the decision-making process in terms of, are we making the right decision? is this the right call? We had a sense that God was involved with it, but the thing that really confirmed it for us each step of the way was the peace that we both felt through all of this. Like I told the people in Aurelia when we were having services, one little known fact about Kath and I is that we've moved house like 27 times since we've been married. And
you're still married.
And we're still married. I say it's all her. I was very stable before I met her. But some of those moves that we've had have only just been moving suburb, and they've been the most stressful thing ever. But we've moved the whole country, and it's been the easiest move out of all 27 moves. It's probably been the easiest one that we've had. Not that it wasn't, there weren't things that we had to pray through and consider and everything else. But it just felt like God was right there in the center of everything. And we just had this great sense of peace through all of that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, I mean, this has been great to be able to connect tonight. And thanks so much to all of you for doing this and for spending this time. And yeah, just really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate the time together. So thanks so much for being here. I want to take a minute and just let you know about a couple of things as we wrap up. First, you want to be at this series this weekend. We want to help you connect with God in a unique way over the coming weeks and in this unique time. So please join us on Sunday, 9, 10:30, noon, 1:30, and 7. I got them all right. And then, hey, if you're listening to this and you've got questions about faith, you're like, hey, I got a lot of questions about, is there a God? Does he exist? What's that all about? I want to encourage you to sign up for something we're hosting called Starting Point. And it's a short-term online group where no questions are off the table. Great place to have a conversation about God. And if you go to connexuschurch.com/groups, you can join a Starting Point group. So we'll see you on Sunday. Invite everyone you can. It's going to be a fantastic time to begin this conversation. I'm going to take questions on Sunday as well. That's right, Justin, right? Questions on Sunday as well. And Sunday's going to be fantastic. And also jump in a Starting Point group. We'd love to connect with you there, have a conversation about your questions. So thanks so much for being with us tonight. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you soon.